Hi, it's Anita from Scrappy Happy Mommy, and today I'm back with another Wild Card 2 video for you. I'm going to be cutting card number 11 today, and this is the sheep card found on page 32 of the manual. Now the sheep card is a tri-fold card, which means that the card itself has 3 different folds to it. And usually when you're looking at a fit to page feature, you're looking at the biggest part, and of course looking at the diagram, it usually is the envelope. But on a tri-fold card, you always want to cut your card or look at the fit to page feature first of the card. Now the envelope using fit to page cuts at 6 1/4, but the card itself using fit to page cuts at 5 inches. So we're going to want to do the 5 inches, of course. So I'm going to start today. Everything is going to be at 5 inches except for the phrase, which we will look at later on. So I'm going to start with the envelope and then the envelope shift feature. Now the envelope, I've already pre-scored my lines, and I've also added adhesive already. And once again, this is cut at 5 inches, and I cut it from Recollections cardstock. The envelope shift feature looks like a green hill or a bush, and this is also cut at 5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and put the envelope together. And that's it for the envelope. Everything cut at 5 inches. Now for the card itself, as I mentioned, it is a tri-fold card. So your 3 folds, when you cut it out, it's going to look like this. And after it's scored, you'd have your fold number 1 and then your fold number 2 to give you your 3 different flaps. And that is how this part would go. Now, as you can tell, it's very, very basic, and when you put the sheep on here, you're going to have some of the blue shine through at the bottom. And I didn't like this. I have done this card before, and I'm going to show you what I've done on this card. So I added a little bit to it. With the card itself, I added some grass, and I also added a green strip at the bottom, and I do have a little flower punch that I also added. But today I'm going to go with the basics. I will do the grass or talk about it, and I also will add this part right here. So the card we're going to look at, as I mentioned, it's cut at 5 inches. So we're going to put the card shift together first. And I cut this at 5 inches twice. One for the outside of the card, and then I cut it again using the exact same brown. It's a craft brown that I used for the inside of the card, because I didn't want the fence showing through on the blue cardstock. So that was cut 2 times at 5 inches, and then of course it would fold over. Now something that is not in the booklet is this extra little bit of grass, and I just measured the width of the card, and I believe it was around 3 1/2 inches, and I cut it by 2, so about 3 1/2 by 2. And I'm just going to add that to the outside flap. So once again, that is how it cuts, and I'm adding all of these details to this part right here. The next part we're going to add right now is the actual sheep. And the sheep was cut at 5 inches. I used just the sheep feature, and I cut that out of a gray cardstock. In the book it shows up as like a burnt yellow. So that is the sheep part. And the sheep shift is the white part. And I did use my Cuttlebug Divine Swirls just to give the wool more of a wool look to it. You're going to put that aside. Actually, no, you're not. You're going to put that on first. Sorry, my brain is not working again today. So you're going to add this part first. So this is the sheep added onto the sheep shift. And then you are going to add the black part. This is layer number 1. I also cut it 5 inches. And then go back and add the sheep's face, which I use the gray cardstock from. And then the sheep shift. And once again, I used the Divine Swirls Cuttlebug folder to give the wool more of a look. It does also cut out these little feet, and this is from the layer 1, and I use black. In the manual it shows up as a brown. I'm going to add the little hoofs. And that is the sheep part itself. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add this. You could use pop dots or dimensionals. I'm not going to right now. I'm just going to add the sheep to the inside. You will have a little bit of an overlap to it, and you can position that sheep how you choose. I think I'm going to put it down here just a little bit. Okay, so there's the sheep part. Now if you wanted to, you could leave the fence the way it was. I also added some grass to it, and I did cut this out 2 times as well. And I used my Plantain School Book Cricut cartridge to do this. I cut both of these grass pieces, so I cut the same thing out twice at 1.5 inches. And all I'm going to do is just put a little adhesive on the bottom. And once again, you don't have to do that. I just wanted to add some grass to the fence part. And you have to cut it out twice if you choose to do this, because the first time you're going to have a little overlap, but it's not enough to cover the back part of that card. And I'm just going to use my scissors and cut off the extra. And the same thing with the inside. Add some adhesive to the bottom. Add it to this and cut it off. And I really like the way that grass looks, very country looking. So there is my card itself right there. The inside sentiment, of course you could put either on this panel or on this panel, it doesn't really matter. And I cut the sentiment at 2.5 inches, and I cut it first, just the phrase, at 2.5 from the same black cardstock that I had. And I'm going to put this part right here. And then I also cut the phrase shift, and I used the same gray that I had already in the card. And there that is. So there is the sheep card, which is card number 11, found on page 32 of the manual. As I said, I did add some extra parts to this card, but I did like the way that it turned out better instead of having the sheep just with the blue background on it. So there's the finished product. Everything is cut at 5 inches except the phrase, which is cut at 2.5 inches. So I'll be back later on with card number 12. Thanks for watching.